I'm forever going to have a rod in my back, forever, going all the way down from the top of my shoulders all the way down to my waist. Welcome back to our channel. Today is just me because I'm going to be doing a story time on my idiopathic scoliosis and with me having a rod in my back. So Bubba's not going to be in this video, but stay tuned if you want to hear all about my story. So for the ones who don't know what idiopathic scoliosis is, it's basically a spinal condition, obviously in the back. It has to deal with the spine, but this particular type of scoliosis, it just comes out of nowhere. I think there's like maybe 3 or 4 different types of scoliosis, and the one that I have is idiopathic scoliosis, and that one comes from it's not from a parent or anybody. It come like from down the line. It just came out of like nowhere. So that kind of scared my mom and me a lot. I think mainly me because I was like 12 at the time, just turned 12 maybe. Found out I was freaking out. I was like, I'm not normal. Like I was just like I always felt like something was wrong with me. I was already insecure because obviously women's boob area, they're like 2 different sizes, but mine was way off. Like you can like really notice it in my shirt, like it was like really crazy. So like when I wore like a tight shirt, like I was like that. It was insane. And so how I found out was I was trying out for the cheerleading team and we were doing like these exercises, sort of like a physical when you go to the doctor. And how I found out was I bent over and she was like, "Whoa, what's wrong with your back?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She was like, "I think you need to go to the doctor and get checked out." And I was like, okay. So I wasn't able to try for the cheerleading team, and that kind of bummed me out because for the people that did go to school with me, I was really big in gymnastics. I think I was like the only girl that could do a aerial, that's a cartwheel with no hands at my school. So whenever we would do like gymnastics competitions, like it would just be me doing that particular flip because I was the only one that could do it. Cause I was like really advanced, like, and that really bummed me out when I couldn't try out for the cheerleading team because it always had to do with flipping and everything else in train. I was mainly trying out because I could flip, like I was a pro at flipping. When I head to the doctor, turns out I have scoliosis, idiopathic scoliosis. And from that moment on, I think it was just a ton of doctor's visits, a ton of heart doctor's visits. It was just like a ton of visits. Like I was always out of school because I had to go to this doctor. And we stayed in a small town, Sulphur Springs, Texas. So it would be like in Dallas or Fort Worth. That was like almost an hour, 30-minute drive, sometimes 2, depending on how far in Dallas it was. So I think the first doctor I had to go to was a heart doctor because when I did have it, there would be times where like I would have to slow down my breathing because I felt like something was poking my heart. At the time, I thought it was normal. Of course, I was just 12, so I didn't really think nothing of it. But when I went to the doctor, they said something about it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, are you serious?" They basically were saying that like a part of I'm not gonna say spine. I'm gonna just say some type of bone in my body was sometime like poke at my heart, and that's what that basically was, and that freaked me out. So every time that it happened after I left the doctor, I would like freak out, be like, "Oh my god, this bone is about to bust my heart open!" Like I would freak out. I'm talking about like I would just sit there and just breathe slowly and not do anything else, but just sit there and try to breathe and make it go away. And it would just go away on its own. It wouldn't last long, maybe 2 to 3 minutes always. And then the second doctor was I had to get my tonsils taken out because my tonsils were too big according to the doctor. They were too big and it was causing me not to breathe right, and they didn't want to send me into a long surgery with my tonsils like that. So I had to get my tonsils removed. I was out of school for like 3 to 4 days, and let me just tell you, getting your tonsils removed hurts, especially after you try to eat. Like the scabs in your throat, like it just does not feel good whatsoever. So I think that was the worst surgery for me. I mean, the popsicles and stuff is good though. Really, the last doctor I had to see was Dr. Sukato. I love him. He's the one that I can't talk, performed my surgery, and the doctor that I still see to this day, just for regular checkups. Next was just a ton of X-rays, a lot of X-rays. Like every time I went to the doctor, it was always X-rays, X-rays, X-rays. And I'll post a before and after picture of my surgery, like before and then after. And let me just tell you, it's crazy. I think my the degree was like 95. It was really high up there to where I was able to be in this special program for children with severe scoliosis. And I was like, wow, is it that serious? But yeah, it was like that serious. So my mom, she let me enroll into that. I mean, it was nothing too big. It was just like they're always going to have like my results on how I'm doing or just stuff like that. So I didn't think much of it. I know we were getting paid for it because it was like a special program and they kind of had to have our consent to enter it. And it was just a ton of paperwork after that. I think it was March 13th of 2012 or 13. That's the day that I had my surgery. It was at Scottish Rite Hospital in Dallas. I couldn't eat anything after 10. So I remember just eating like a ton of food that day. And my surgery was like at 9 o'clock in the morning. It was like really, really early to where we had to leave at like 5 o'clock in the morning. So my mom was working, and my grandma had came down from Louisiana to also help out with me after I got out of surgery. And it was school time, so all my brothers and sisters were going to school. So, and my mom didn't want to miss out on work, so my grandma said she would come down and help. So we all loaded up in the car. It was still dark. It was like 4 or 5 in the morning. We all loaded up. I think I stayed up all night because I was really scared but excited to like finally get it over with. So we head to Dallas. We get there. I remember it was my mom, my older sister, and my grandma. Maybe my little sister. I'm not too sure. But we get there and everything's cool. They're like prepping me. I got my little gown on, and I think it maybe like 8:15ish. That's when they gave me the medicine to knock me out for surgery. And I remember holding my mom's hand. I think she was singing or she was counting down from 10. But I don't know. I just remember falling asleep, waking back up in excruciating pain. I mean, pain like no other. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, as soon as I woke up, it just shot. I was like, oh my God. And I just busted into tears. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? And they were just explaining to me that everything was going to be okay. So fast forward to a few days, with me being in the hospital, they were trying to get me up, walking around. I think that was the hardest part because I was so stiff from right here all the way down to my waist. So like I was like walking like this. Like I couldn't move my neck. It was like insane. So I had to get out of bed a certain way. I had to like swing my legs over. I had to get back in bed a certain way. I couldn't do nothing myself. I couldn't dress myself. Couldn't bend over. Couldn't do anything at all. I think on my second day, they had me get up to take a shower, and I think it took us like 20 minutes just to get me out of bed because I was like, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't stand up, I can't stand up. And every time they would get me halfway up, I would like just fall back down, and it was just crazy. And at this time, my grandma was staying with me the whole entire time. My mom would go to work, come off, and obviously come to the hospital and check on me. But I just remember always crying, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so happy this is over. And the hospital that I was at, it's specifically for children with special needs, and specifically people with spinal problems. So I remember just walking around seeing like kids in worse situations than me. I'm just like, and at this time I was just like, thank you God that it's not that serious for me. Um, I have a rod in my back going from right here all the way down basically, and I have a scar. It's going to be there for the rest of my life. I had dissolvable staples in it, but that obviously went away over time. So before I could leave the hospital, I had to do number two. And let me tell you, that was kind of hard. They had to give me an enema. And for those who don't know what that is, it's something that goes up your butt to help you poop. And I'm 12 at this time. I have never had sex. Obviously, I don't know what that is. Like, I'm just like, okay, cool. So they stick it up, and I'm just like, oh my god, that feels, and it hurt. It hurt, and I guess I was acting so strange that the nurse stopped, and she was like, "Are you getting abused at home?" And I was like, "Huh?" She was like, "We've never had somebody act that way." I said, "Oh." I said, "No, it just hurts." And she inserts it again. I'm freaking out. I'm holding on to my grandma's hand like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." I'm breathing out. It was just like insane. And they finally get it. And I'm like, "Oh, I have to go to the toilet." But obviously I think just the enema came out, but the doctor was just like, "You're good, you can go ahead and go home." But they gave me enema twice, plus gave me medicine to help me puke, like what's it called? Milk of magnesia. They gave me that as well. So I'm finally able to go home, and we get on the road. Let me remind you, I look a hot mess. My hair's all over my head because I've been in the hospital. I have on just different types of clothes. And I look a hot mess. I think it's like maybe Sunday, maybe Saturday. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go to the restroom. I have to go to the restroom. I said, I cannot hold it. And my stepdad was like, well, hold on, I'm about to stop. I was like, no, I'm about to just let it go right now. It was like, everybody was just laughing. And so he decides to stop at a Chili's. And when I tell you it was packed, it was packed. I was like, oh my God. But I didn't even care. I didn't have any shoes on. And I think like my shirt was ripped. And my grandma helped me walk into Chili's, into the restroom. I think I was in the restroom for like 30 minutes. Like, no kidding. It was like that bad. And that was only the first stop. The second stop, I think we're driving for like maybe 20 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, I have to go again, I have to go again. And we were on a highway, and I think the first thing he could find was a hotel, but it was like to me, it looked like an abandoned hotel. Like, it didn't have like any restrooms or anything. So I was like, I'm just about to go. So one of the managers just let me use the restroom. Shout out to him. And I think I was in there for like maybe not too long, like 15 minutes. And then we finally made it home, and obviously it was okay for me to go. And I was just like, oh my God, this feels so, 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 so amazing. Forward to when we get home. Um, I'm not able to sit down or get up by myself, not able to walk by myself, not able to take a shower by myself, not able to do anything by myself. So I always had to have somebody at home with me at all times, or somebody just always watching me. And my room was right by the front door, and everybody else's room was way in the back. And at 12, I didn't have a phone, but after I got out of surgery, that's when I got my first phone, mainly because I was going to be home alone sometimes due to my brothers and sisters being in school, and like my grandma being asleep or something. So I kind of had to, just always have some type of way to communicate with somebody. So I got my first phone, and over the course of time, I figured out how to get in and out of bed by myself. I still needed help. It still took me like maybe 5 minutes just to do the whole process. but I was able to somehow get in and out of bed by myself. And so I was just kind of making progress. Eventually, I was able to sit up for a period of time. I had to have a pillow behind my back at all times because at this time I was still stiff. So I was always like this. When somebody said my name, I would just be like, yeah, yeah. I think I was stiff like that for maybe 2 months. I was at school for 2 months as well. And then just over time, I was able to, like, kind of move my neck, relax my shoulders and everything else. And I was finally able to take off my bandages. And I was still in school, but I was like getting homeschooled via from the school. So a teacher would like come to my house like a few times out of the week and just, kind of catch me up on what's been going on and just stuff like that. And I kind of enjoyed it, but at the same time I did because it like she always came on days that I just wasn't feeling it. But I, got through it. Years later, obviously when I'm 18, 19, I got pregnant. And I think my worst fear was, could this cause, like a problem during my pregnancy? But that's like, it was like 8, 6, 7 years ago. So I didn't think so. And I was right. It wasn't any problems, just mainly more back problems than a regular pregnant mom would have, just more back problems, I guess a little bit more breathing problems. And so I think the main thing that I'm still insecure about is obviously the scar on my back because it's never going to go away. I'm still somewhat, in the boob area, still kind of, one is kind of bigger than the other. I'm still kind of insecure about that as well. And I think I'm always going to be insecure about it because, like, it's just something that's always going to be stuck with me. I'm always going to have a rod in my back. And the pros and cons is when it gets cold, obviously I get stiffed all over again. Like stiff, like I just got out of surgery stiff. And when it gets like hot, like 100, 101, I have like, I get 10 times harder than a regular person. I don't know if that makes sense, but like I get hot like really, really, really fast, and I feel like I'm about to pass out. I'm sure it's anybody in 100-degree weather, but I think mine is like 10 times more aggressive. And I'm sure anybody else can tell you the same thing that has a rod in their back or has idiopathic scoliosis. And another thing is when you lay down for too long, or like, are you sitting like in a laying position, it hurts way 10 times more. And um like I have been in fights in my life and people are always like, oh my gosh, isn't that gonna affect your back? No, no, no. I had surgery when I was 12. I am now 20 and it doesn't affect me at all anymore. I don't even feel it. It's just there. Like it's just there in my back. Like I'm just living with it. And I have absolutely no problem with it. It's just, thank you guys for listening to my story. Most people didn't know that I had idiopathic scoliosis. Only the ones that went to school with me and close friends and family, obviously. But if you didn't know me, you were just walking on the street, you wouldn't notice that I have it because I had surgery. And the rod has corrected my spine over time. So I was just really happy to get that out there because nobody knows that. When I first met my now husband, I think I tried to hide it from him for the longest. Like I would just always wear a shirt around him, always wear a tank top, something to always cover my back. But eventually, he had to find out, and he's made me a little bit less insecure. But that's always going to be something of mine to be insecure about. To like, comment, and subscribe, and comment below if you have the same thing that I have. Like, we're in this together, sister or brother.